But now let's talk about this Steelers-Ravens game. Let's get to the main event. And you guys know what I've been saying about this Ravens team over the last couple weeks. They're good, but they're not that good. And the reason I was saying that is because I knew after that Denver game where the Ravens beat them like 40-10 or something like that, everyone was going to be coming in on Monday. All the analysts, the national media was going to be crowning the Ravens and saying, man, these guys are the best in the AFC. They got the best chance to beat the Chiefs. They're untouchable. You got Lamar Jackson looking like he's going to win his third MVP. Derrick Henry, he hasn't lost any steam. Look at all the weapons on offense, and we obviously know the Ravens' defense. They're always pretty consistently solid. And I get it. Like, all those things can be true. Like, they are a good team. Lamar Jackson's playing great. Derrick Henry has been a godsend signing for them. Their defense, not as good as usual, but yeah, they're all right. They're not bad, particularly in the passing game, particularly in their pass defense. They've taken a huge step back. But they got good receivers. They got good weapons for Lamar Jackson. You still got Justin Tucker, even though he's not the Justin Tucker of old. Like, they are a good team. But let's not talk ourselves into them being, anytime a team plays them, they should be this huge favorite. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all, given that they've lost to teams like the Raiders. They've lost to teams like the Browns. They also lost to the Chiefs week 1, but that's more of a good loss, and they almost actually tied it and took it to overtime if it wasn't for Isaiah Likely's shoe size being one size too big than what he needed to secure that final catch at the end of the game. They have 3 losses, man. Let's not forget who's on top of the AFC North here, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Ravens are good. We can give them their respect, but they're not that good. What reason should anyone have in saying Ravens are a lock to win this game against the Steelers? There's no reason that you can't say that. No, not at all. They're not necessarily better than us. Yeah, maybe they got a little bit more explosive offense. Lamar Jackson, he's putting up some bigger numbers than a Russell Wilson. Derrick Henry, yeah, he's having a hell of a season. I get it. They're putting up some gaudy numbers, but it also is a team game, and their defense has been giving up a lot of yards too. So let's talk about the matchup of, we'll you know what, we'll stick with kind of like their defense versus our offense then. We'll start off with that. And then we'll get into the Ravens offense and my thoughts on that too. Ravens defense, really good at stopping the run. They're only averaging like 3.1 yards per carry, 3.2 yards per carry given up. And that's something that you can expect from a Baltimore Ravens team. The front 7 that they have, they still got a Roquan Smith. They lost to Patrick Queen. Their D-line, always solid, always stout, good linebackers, decent on edge with the edge rushers, not to the degree that we have here in Pittsburgh with T.J. Watt and Highsmith. But they got guys. They typically always got guys. But you look at their pass defense, and it's pretty brutal, which is weird because you look at the names that they have in the secondary and how they've invested in the secondary over the last several years. They just drafted Nate Wiggins in the first round, speedster out of Clemson. You got a Marlon Humphrey, Pro Bowl caliber dude. Brandon Stevens in the slot and Arthur Maulet in the slot. We're familiar with Arthur Maulet. Those dudes aren't bad. Arthur Maulet, a little bit better in the run stopping than he is in pass coverage. Then at safety, you got a Kyle Hamilton, a Marcus Williams. They picked up an Eddie Jackson. They got names in the secondary. It's just that they're not playing to the level of what their reputation is right now, to be honest with you, because they are one of the worst teams in the league in pass defense. Like, if you want the actual numbers, I mean, depending on how you want to slice it up, like they're 32nd in pass yards given up. So it's actually worse than pass yards given up. Worst in touchdowns given up, pass touchdowns given up, 22nd. And then they're 17th in interceptions. They got 6 picks. So they're not even getting that many turnovers either. So I mean, based off just the straight data here, 32nd in pass yards given up, 32nd in pass touchdowns given up. That's the worst. Now, there are teams that have gotten less takeaways or less interceptions than the Ravens because they got 6. So, I mean, if you want to attribute that or give them a plus in their pass defense and say they aren't the worst because they still got some more picks than other teams, even though they're worse than yards and worse than pass touchdowns. Maybe you could say that, but yeah, they're one of the bottom 3 teams, no matter how you want to slice it. And it's not even about them playing good quarterbacks. Now, they've done that. They've played Joe Burrow a couple times, and Burrow's carved them up. They've played him Mahomes. But I've also seen a Dak. And I mean, Dak's he's an all right quarterback, but I don't put him on that level. He's average. He's getting paid way too much. But Dak carved him up. Some of that was garbage time. Some of that was in the second half because the Ravens got up on the Cowboys so much. But he made it a game. He made it a one-score game. Jameis Winston carved him up in his Browns starting debut. Baker's playing good this year. I'll give him credit. But I don't know. Does anyone view him as a bona fide top 10 quarterback right now? No. Jaden Daniels is a rookie. Jaden Daniels is playing really good, but he carved up this Ravens defense. A Gardner Minshew. So, like, all different types of quarterbacks, all different, like, styles of quarterbacks, highly ranked quarterbacks, mid-ranked quarterbacks, lower-ranked quarterbacks. They have had their way with this Ravens defense, and I think for the Steelers, you got to be licking your chops, given how Russell Wilson's been playing. And the fact, too, that even though the Ravens have been good in run defense, as I said, they're giving up. It's actually a little bit worse than the 3.1, 3.2 yards per carry that I initially said. It's actually 3.4. I don't know why I thought it was better than 3.4. I thought I heard 3.1 and 3.2 from somewhere. But anyway, it's actually 3.4. So even though they are good at stopping the run, here's a little caveat for the Steelers offense in this game, though. How many yards did we get on the ground last week against the Commanders? It was like 3.3. It was 3 something, right? It might have been a little bit better, but I know Najee was averaging it was like 3.3. Jaylen Warren was a little more efficient than Najee, so maybe the numbers averaged out to close to 4, like a 3.8, 3.9 yards per carry. Either way, what I'm saying is, like, that wasn't our best running performance last week, but yet we still made it work. We still kept going to it where it kept the offense on schedule and, like, there was impact. Even though it was ugly yards, even though on first down and maybe even second down, we were only getting 2-3 yards a pop, it gave us a 3rd and short. It gave Russell Wilson and the offense an opportunity to get an easy 3rd down. And to Russ's credit, we were able to do that for the most part last game. So even though the Ravens have a good run defense, I don't see why we're going to become one-dimensional here, because we should still be able to pick up some tough earned yards and still have that running game have an impact on this game and how our offense flows. So we're going to stick with it. It might be an ugly game, and that's typically how it is going up against these Ravens defenses. It might not be great for the first half. It might not be good for the first 3 quarters, but if you stick with it, I've seen times, this was going back to Kenny's rookie year, I've seen times where the floodgates can really open up in the 4th if you stick with the run game. When Najee, it was bad like the first 2.5 quarters, but we stuck with the run, man. We weren't turning the ball over. We were sticking in the game, 1-score game, kept handing it off to Najee, and then boom, he was getting some big gains, ended up with like over 100 yards. Huge impact. So even though Ravens are good against the run, don't count us out in still having some success and on the ground game. And if you look at what we've been doing this season, we've been pretty steady running the ball. Some of our best games have come more recently, but yeah, don't be surprised if we're at least able to still get a $120, $130, $140 on the ground. And then Russ should be able to cook against this Ravens secondary. Even if our run game ain't going like that, I don't see him having any problems against this Ravens secondary. I really don't. With him playing how he is, we put up 30 points 3 games in a row going back to the Raiders game. Justin Fields played in that one. But in Russ's 3 starts, he's got 2 games with 30+, and then this last one against the Commanders with 28+. Could have easily been over 30 if it wasn't for Warren's fumble and the James Pierre fake punt drop. So, why do I think that Russ would struggle against this Ravens defense, or our offense is going to struggle and be inept against this Ravens defense and not be able to put up something in the high 20s? I don't think – I don't think that. There's no reason to think that. You got Jamar Chase going off against them last week, 260-something. And I get it. We don't have necessarily a Jamar Chase. We got a Pickens, though. You see that Russ and Pickens connection. That thing's blossoming. Mike Williams, his first game last week, he should be only getting more snaps as time goes on. We got Freiermuth catching touchdowns from Russ pretty consistently. Jaylen Warren being a threat out the backfield in the passing game. Offense, I don't see us scoring less than mid-20s. I just don't see it happening. There's no reason why we can't be putting up something like 28, 29 or something even in the 30s against this Ravens defense. But now let's look to our defense, Steelers defense against the Ravens offense. Listen, I got to be straight up. Ravens, up to this point, just on paper, from the stats, the ranking standpoint, yeah, they are lighting it up on offense. They really are. Lamar Jackson, he's leading the league in, I think it's, what is it? Passing. I think it's passing yards and passing touchdowns. He is 2,669 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Or no, that's the Ravens as a whole. That's what am I reading here? I can't even read my own. Usually, you can't read your own writing. You know what I mean? If you're just scribbling stuff on paper, I can't even read my own typing here. I got some notes typed up here in the Apple's notes. I can't even read what I'm trying to say here. So let me go to the actual place where I got this information. Okay, Lamar, yeah, he is. Okay, I was right. I was actually right. 2,669 passing yards and 24 passing touchdowns. The 24 passing touchdowns leads the league. He's also leading the league in yards per attempt with 9.3. Highest QB rating right now, 123.2. Highest QBR, 76.9. He's playing good. If he won a 3rd MVP, regular season MVP, I wouldn't necessarily have a huge rebuttal against it. Dude's playing really good. He is. Got to give him credit. And Derrick Henry, his running back, also leading the league in his respective categories of running the football. 184 attempts, that leads the league. 1,120 yards on the ground, that leads the league. 12 rushing touchdowns, that leads the league. He's also got a 6.1 yards per carry going for him and has 112 yards per game. All lead the league right now. He's looking like prime Derrick Henry. His acquisition or his departure from the Titans to the Ravens has rejuvenated his career, unfortunately. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted the Steelers to sign him, given, too, that we have Henry's former Titans offensive coordinator from the 2019-2020 days when Henry was being nicknamed King Henry. So, yeah, he's still obviously able to play at a pretty high clip. He also has got a couple receiving touchdowns, too. You add the weapons that the Ravens have added over the years in the passing game. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. They're on pace for, I think they're both on pace for over 1,000 yards this year. Zay Flowers definitely. Bateman's in that 500 range right now. So, yeah, he'll end up with, if he keeps pace, end up around 900, 1,000. You got the 2 tight ends, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. They just traded for Deontay Johnson a couple weeks ago. So, Lamar Jackson's got weapons. He's utilizing them properly this season, as shown by the 24 touchdowns, 2 picks. Obviously, he does some stuff in the ground game too. How many rushing yards does Lamar have? Yeah, he's 532 rushing yards this year, 2 touchdowns. So not the typical Lamar Jackson ground game type of season, but he's still on pace for that's going to be like 900, close to 1,000. But what we're used to with Lamar is in his peak running days, he was getting definitely over 1,000, like 1,100, and a lot of touchdowns. But you got to give the dude credit. This is the best he's been in the NFL. Like, for him winning the multiple MVPs and the accolades that he's gathered throughout his career thus far, and being considered a top 5 quarterback year in, year out, like, this is his best season. So you got to give the man credit. The Ravens offense is legit. We just went up against another legit offense in the Commanders, but we got to be real. This one's even better. Ravens offense up to this point is better than what the Commanders offense is. And part of that is due to Lamar Jackson. I think he's playing better than a Jaden Daniels, but he's got better surroundings too. Not as much pop in that Commanders offense compared to Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, and Bateman, and the tight ends, and Deontay Johnson, and all that. Commanders got Terry McLaurin, but outside of that, they got some reliable guys, but not as much juice as these Ravens offensive players. Now, with all that being said, I ain't that worried, man. I ain't that worried. You guys may like how I'm actually doing this preview right now, because I feel like I'm giving my respects. I'm giving my respects and everything, and talking up the opponent to a degree. It's like, all right, cool. It's the Ravens. They're good. But again, back to what I said at the beginning, but they're not that good. They're not that good. And why do I say that? And why do I say I'm not like that concerned? Is because Lamar Jackson hasn't really done anything against the Steelers. He's done a lot of stuff against the league. Like, all these stats he's put up, that's against everyone but the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of what he's done throughout his career, that's about 97% of the time going up against the team not named the Pittsburgh Steelers. Majority of those games, yeah, he's not playing the Steelers. But in the 4 games he has played against the Steelers, the dude's got a 59.1 completion percentage. He's averaging 214.5 yards per game. Has only thrown for 4 passing touchdowns. Has 7 interceptions. Remember, I was just talking about Lamar's QB rating. It's like $120. It leads the league. Has the highest QBR in the league. All that stuff. Well, when he plays the Steelers, that QB rating gets chopped in half. It goes from $120 to 66.8. He's got a 1-3 record against us. Should be 0-4, because the one game he won was whenever Mason Rudolph was starting. Ben had the elbow surgery, and Ben was out for that season. But Mason Rudolph started that game at home, 2019. He gets knocked out. We have Duck Hodges come in. Duck Hodges leads the charge for the comeback. It goes to OT. We have the ball in overtime, marching down the field to win the game. Duck throws a dime across the middle to Juju. He's going in the Ravens territory. He just needs to not fumble the ball, and we win it. Boz is going to kick the game-winning field goal, and what does Juju do? Fumble the ball. So if it wasn't for that, Lamar Jackson's 0-4, and he also has 7 fumbles against the Steelers. So completely different player whenever he plays the Steelers. So I got to give Lamar credit, but I can't help it. Like, in the back of my mind, I can't unsee what the dude has done against the Steelers. And what team is he playing this week? It's Pittsburgh Steelers. We kind of have his number. We kind of know what we're doing. We kind of know how to play against the Lamar Jackson. And we also kind of know how to play Derrick Henry too. Derrick Henry's 3 games against the Steelers in his career. 60 yards per game and 2 touchdowns. That's not the Derrick Henry I was just describing in the type of season that Derrick Henry's having right now, right? It's pretty much, actually, I was just saying Lamar Jackson's QB rating is cut in half whenever he's playing the Steelers. Derrick Henry's yards per game is almost cut in half. He's averaging 112 yards per game this season. But you look at the 3 games against the Steelers, it goes to 60. So listen, man, It's like that "I'll believe it when I see it" mentality. I'll believe it when I see it. When Lamar Jackson lights up the Steelers defense, when Derrick Henry goes off against this Steelers defense for 100 plus multiple touchdowns, then I'll talk differently. Then I'll be thinking differently. But going into this game, eh, I think we'll be fine. I think this Steelers defense will be fine. I don't think Lamar is going to look like this third MVP Lamar that we've been seeing this season. I don't think Derrick Henry is going to be looking like he found the fountain of youth. I think they will probably have fine games. I mean, they'll probably have fine games, but nothing to the extent that we've been seeing. Like, honestly, Lamar had a pretty good game against us last year. That was probably his best game against us. There were multiple Ravens drops. He could have had a better stat line than what he ended up with. Had a pretty good game. But what did he do at the end of it? Threw the game-losing interception in the red zone to JPJ, trying to get it to Odell Beckham. So that's a thing that's been consistent with Lamar over the course of his games against the Steelers. Some back-breaking turnovers, multiple turnover games. So even if he's able to move the ball, he's looking good for 2 quarters, 2.5 quarters. Watch out. Watch out in the fourth. Because you never know when that turnover is coming. And that is something that's been very prevalent with Lamar going up against the Steelers. Now, could it be different when you combine the two? When you combine a Lamar Jackson, a Derrick Henry, and some of the Ravens' new pieces? Again, I'll believe it when I see it, man. I'll believe it when I see it. So my prediction for this game, as I said, I think our offense does well. No reason for it not to do well. I like us getting 30. Now, I'll say the same thing as I did last week. It all depends on what defense shows up. If the Steelers defense shows up that we've seen in the first 3 weeks, if it's that defense and the defense that we're used to seeing in like big AFC North type of matchups, as opposed to what we've been seeing these last like 4 or 5 weeks, then I think Ravens are looking at like 20. Yeah, like 20, 17, 20. I think 20 is the number. 30 to 20. I'm kind of thinking, maybe I'm thinking 28-20. Steelers win 28-20. Yeah, it's something like that. But it's like we have the ball. We got the ball like final drive, and it's us like just chewing the clock as opposed to like scoring that extra field goal or touchdown to get into the 30s. No, we're just closing out the game at that point. That's how I see it playing out. Like, why not take a Russell Wilson? Why not take this Steelers team over Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens? We're the ones that are 7-2. We're seeing how Russell Wilson's playing these last 3 games. Russell Wilson's playing like an elite quarterback. Lamar Jackson's playing like an elite quarterback too. But why not take our guy? Why not take a Russell Wilson? Given the stat lines and the games that Lamar Jackson has put out against the Steelers defense. And also given Russell Wilson's past and what he's done in big games, what he's done in playoffs and big division, all that type of stuff. Why can't I feel confident in what we got here? Why can't I feel confident in Russell Wilson outplaying Lamar Jackson, a Steelers team, a Steelers defense, a Steelers offense? Hell, even a Steelers kicker outplaying the Ravens kicker. Why can't I feel confident in just the Steelers as a whole outplaying the Ravens? We're the ones that are 7-2. I get it. Ravens, they got some cool fantasy stats going for them. They got some gaudy numbers. They also got some gaudiness going in the other direction with their defense and the amount of yards and touchdowns that they've given up as well. So, listen, man, hey, it's at home. It's at the crib. Come on, man. I like us. Steelers Ravens week. But let me check in with the comments before I get out of here. See what you guys are thinking about this matchup. Black and Yellow says the Ravens should be spooked. Hey, man. Hey, just as we could say Ravens are good, we could give our proper respects to the Ravens. The Ravens got to do that with us. Trust me, they definitely got to do that with us. And that just goes to my point. Why not us? Why can't Russell Wilson outplay Lamar Jackson? Why can't Pickens have a better game than Zay Flowers? Why can't our defense outplay theirs? And our defense, honestly, our defense should outplay theirs, given their pass coverage and the passing stats that they've given up. Jim says he sees Queen having a monster game. And we got some other comments saying they agree with me. Says true. Yeah. Appreciate it. Jim also says look for all 3 Steelers running backs to have a good game Sunday. Okay. I think it depends on how much a guy like Cordell Patterson gets the ball. But as long as Jaylen Warren ain't fumbling, I think Najee Harris, we know he could be steady for us. So I agree at least 2 of the running backs should be doing some good stuff for us. But I think that's it for today's show, man. Appreciate everyone for stopping through. Like I said, I got us 30-20. Or what did I say? 28-20. 28-20. We'll go with that. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay chilling. Peace.